There's that possibility.
Type, go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank Naomi for reminding everybody that there is an action consensus for the action on the 16th. Not because we don't respect diversity of tactics.
So folks, hey, whoa. Why don't we just hear from this for starters, and then we might be able to get a little bit more discussion in the room.
Okay. There is an action, I think in Denmark it's called an action codex. Doesn't imply the word consensus. Now, this action codex exists not because we don't respect the diversity of tactics, right? There is a time and a place for militancy. If you're fighting to defend a squatted building that's being evicted by the police, by all means, kick ass. But the point is that on Wednesday, there's a few considerations that we need to take into account. First of all, we cannot create significantly unsafe spaces if we want to hold this people's assembly. Why? Because it's not just us, like not just the people dressed in black, not just the people with shitloads of direct action experience in the global north that are going to be there. There are people with shitloads of direct action experience from the global south that are going to be there. But their legal status, is different than mine here, for example. I live in Germany, right? If they deport me, they'll put me on a bus back to Berlin. That's, it's okay. I'm going there anyway. Yeah.
Genocide in Peru.
What?
Genocide in Peru of tribal peoples. Go on.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway.
Little tangent.
Yeah. So basically, the point is that their situation here is legally quite precarious, and if we start fighting with the police, that fucks it up for them. Right? We want to create a place where.
Have you been awake for the past 4 days? Yes!
So folks, hey, whoa. This is not how we build a new movement. And, wait, please bear with me that part of what I think we're trying to understand, which I believe is actually one of the ways our movements are evolving. Because 10 years ago in Seattle, you had people said, nonviolence, and you had other imposing it. And then you had other people saying, what they are doing requires more resistance. The women in Argentina who take the rocks and throw them through the window to open up a workers' collective. Is that violent? Who knows? But one of the evolutions is that if we believe in a diversity of tactics, it means time and place and coordinating when. If the police come in here right now, Christiania, people will defend this as they should defend this. This is one of the only spaces we have to show the world how we can live in another way. So, but on this action, whether you have been a part of the process or not, people have been working together for over a year and building a different set of relationships. You don't need to agree to this strategy. You don't. You don't have to participate. But what we do know is if all of us and the thousands of us show up in the streets and overwhelm that place with a flood of humanity, right, that's when we win. And so that's when we win.
Okay, now, I was asked whether I was awake in the last 4 days, although I find the question vaguely presumptuous. Of course I have been. On Saturday, I don't know if you were there, but like I'm from Germany and we've got quite a sort of like tight block system in demonstrations. Like, Saturday was, I'm sorry, the organizers are here and I respect all the work they put in, but there was some of the stuff inside the march that was not very well organized. We let the police cut off a section of the block, a section of the march. That won't happen on Wednesday. We'll be far better organized. We'll be far more sorted. I don't know how many people here were in Heiligendamm at the G8 in 2007. Right? The Block G8 actions rocked. They were very good actions. And one of the things we did there, right, we decided to achieve our goal of blocking the entrances not by overwhelming the cops with our force, Because this isn't the first time this global movement is meeting. 10 years ago, we had bigger and bigger demonstrations, which also involved more and more militancy. And I think there's an experience that we lose mass, like if we go for mass militarized confrontations, we will lose them. We have lost them. We lost them in the 70s in Germany. We lost them in the 70s in Italy. And we will lose them again. We need to be smarter than that. And on Wednesday, we plan to be smarter than that. And in Highland Dam, we overwhelmed 15,000 very well-trained cops. And I'm not going to let anybody tell me that the Danish cops are better trained than the German cops. They probably both suck, but they probably suck on some equal level of meanness, right? 10 to 12,000 of us overwhelmed 15,000 quite well-trained, nasty German cops. Not by force, not by running against them and fighting block on block, but by speed and movement and by determination to get not against them, but behind them. And one thing we thought about is when you encounter a line of police, don't look the cops in the eye. It's like with dogs, right? Like don't look them in the eyes. Look at the gaps between the cops, right? That's what we get through. And one last point. I really respect people's anger and their desire for a more militant response to the fucked up shit that's been happening in the last few days. 1,300 arrests for nothing at all. That's like Burma or China stuff, right? That's the kind of stuff you hear. But people arrested for nothing at all. Peaceful demo, 1,300 arrested. Like, oh yeah, man, that's like, that doesn't happen in liberal democracies. Oh, okay, in Denmark, I guess. But the point is, right, I really respect and understand people's anger. There's a lot of my friends who are in those cages, treated like animals, pepper sprayed, and all this stuff. I respect the desire for a response to that. But on Wednesday, we're not just showing our anger. We're trying something strategically. We're trying to get different groups, movements that have different political traditions to come together in one space, in this People's Assembly. And that's an important strategic goal, because the militant radical left, that's a German term, I don't know how that works in other countries, what we in Germany call the radical left, the militant left movement in Europe, on our own, do we really think we can solve the climate crisis? Can we deliver climate justice in the autonomous movements in Europe? Really not. Really not. And we really need to do something about it. So if we want to do coalition and alliance building, and we stay in our own activist politics as usual and say, all right, we fuck shit up because they fuck shit up, then we're not going to get anywhere. We need to... We need to maintain the action consensus or codex with which we've been mobilizing the different allies from Jubilee South, from Via Campesina, from the mass movements, because they expect us to be true to our word and say we're not going to create unsafe situations on Wednesday. We're not going to land in the pens. We'll be better organized, we'll be smarter, we'll be faster, but we will not create unsafe situations on Wednesday.